A long time ago, on a comics page far, far away. Greetings and welcome to May the Panel Be With You, the Star Wars comic book show brought to you by the Punch Up Entertainment Network. I'm your humble host, Mike Gargoni, and joining me, as always, the Chihito to my Danny, it's John Campbell.
Justice for Chihito. Hello, everybody.
Yeah,
Gargoni, where are we at this week?
We are, sorry, Justice for Cheeto. How do you say that? Chihdo. Is it Cheeto? Is it just Cheeto?
I think I also may have said Chido. I don't know. It's a weird Star Warsy name that is just all about spelling.
Welcome to Star Wars, where the names are made up and the pronunciations don't matter.
I do. One of the big Star Wars things, and we'll get into it with one of the characters in this, is either just add a letter or subtract a letter, and you've got a Star Wars name. Like, take a normal name, and then either add or subtract a letter, and you're good.
You know whose fault this is? It's Luke Skywalker. He has some lame-ass, like, regular person name that's just Luke. And suddenly that gives us this whole naming dynamic in Star Wars where it's like, well, normal names exist.
Yeah. I feel like had Luke Skywalker come into the franchise later, his name would have been like LU-UK. Luke, sure. Or something like that, right?
Well, John, we can't start talking about Luke Skywalker. That's a whole other thing, and we're not talking about Crimson Empire here.
Oh, no, I know. But I'm just saying, like, when it started, there's some weird names, but like, but yeah, there's something funny about his father, Anakin, his sister, Leia, and him, Luke. Yeah. But it just seems like Lucas hadn't gone like, well, everybody needs a super weird name,
right? But yes, today we are talking about issue number 70 of the original Marvel Star Wars comic book series. This particular issue was released in April of 1983. We are but a scant few months away from the release of Return of the Jedi. Probably less than a month away as of this is hitting news.
People are frothing at the mouth for it at this point. Yeah.
And so to build on that hype, we have to bring back a main character who has not really been in the book up to this point, because at the end of Empire Strikes Back, lest we forget, God knows this comic book's not going to let us forget that he got frozen in carbonite.
Yes, indeed. But they still want to sell books, and they know how popular this guy is. So not only is he on the cover, but they actually say, featuring Han Solo.
Yeah, let's bring in the cover here. Featuring Han Solo in the Stenax Shuffle. So even the people making this comic are aware, like, look, we know he hasn't been around, but the movie's coming out. There's no way he's not going to be there for the final film, even though Harrison Ford really doesn't want to be here anymore.
Harrison Ford, who told him, look, just kill me off in this third one, please. Please, God, just get him out of here.
Till you're 90.
Yeah. God,
actually, it was pretty close. Let's see. He still plays Han Solo in Rise of Skywalker. So
he's in his 70s.
Is he in his 70s at that point? Okay.
He's in his early 80s now, so he would have been like in his late 70s, yeah.
Okay. But this issue's creative team is one that is a little unfamiliar to us. We got Mary Jo Duffy on writing. We got a Tom Palmer on pencils and inks, Carrie Gamble on pencils as well. We got a Glynis Oliver, back then Ween, on colors, and a Joe Rosen on letters.
By the way, I do love the pencils are split up into the weird way now, where it's Carrie Gamble is pages 1, 5 through 16, and 18 through 21, and Tom Palmer is 2 through 4, 17, and 22.
This issue might have been rushed.
Because I was going to go like, is this have something to do with the flashbacks? No. It's just super random who drew what.
And you can tell.
I will say, these are unfamiliar names to us reading this comic, but not unfamiliar names to Marvel Comics fans by any means.
Oh, gods, no. No, no, no. These are some house people that are
Mhm.
around and helping out on tons of books. I mean,
Yeah.
Tom Palmer specifically is on a ton of Doctor Strange around
Yep.
this, or earlier than this. He's been going back into the day, going Captain America and Uncanny X-Men. I mean, this is a guy that's been in the Marvel stable for years and years and years.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mary Jo Duffy is one of those names that you've just seen on a ton of stuff, right?
Yeah. Probably better known for her run on Defenders, at least to me.
Yeah.
But also really responsible for cementing like Power Man and Iron Fist, as well as just the straight up like Power Man run. I think before that, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Big Luke Cage writer. And just a lot, and then just a lot of work like this, where it's like one issue here of this comic, one issue there of that comic. She was definitely, just a Marvel staffer. Wrote a lot of '90s Catwoman as well, which I read a lot of. So,
And Carrie Gamble coming over from Power Man and Iron Fist as well.
yes. So this, but when you talk about this feeling rushed, and also this being near Return of the Jedi, I feel both of those things. Reading.
Yeah.
This really does feel like we need a comic out, and if it could somehow, even minutely, lead into a new movie that's coming out very soon, that would be great. Thanks.
It doesn't, because it's a flashback episode, but
No,
still...
it doesn't, although it's weirdly setting up the next issue more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to it, and we'll get to it even further next week. But
Yes.
Let's get into this comic proper.
Yeah.
Because a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, there exists a state of civil war. Anyway, Star Wars. The first few pages of this are going to be mostly a recap, and we'll get
Oh
to
my
it.
God. I mean, and like the worst kind of recap where Lando and Luke just keep telling each other things that they already know.
Well, Luke constantly going, well, as you know.
Yeah, that drives me insane. It's the I heard somebody say this once about they were talking about writing CSI procedurals and trying to avoid that guy works there. Don't have anyone explain anything to someone who works there.
Yeah.
And that's what this felt like to me, where it's like because of course we start with them. What's interesting is that we get what we learn from all this. I don't even have to get into it because the comic's going to tell you. Of course, everyone's looking for Han Solo.
Yep. We know that Boba Fett has captured Han Solo. You saw Star Wars, right? You know that's what happened.
Previously in Empire Strikes Back.
What you didn't know was that apparently one of those other bounty hunters we saw on the bridge of the Super Star Destroyer was helping Boba Fett out, but was then betrayed by that Mandalorian bounty hunter.
Yep. And so as we saw in the last couple issues, they've all of our heroes have split up to find these individual bounty hunters and see who's the one.
Dengar, IG-88, and Bosk are our three suspects.
Right. And one of them is going to have a vendetta against Boba Fett, and that will presumably, they're really counting on this, lead them to side with or help the rebels to screw over Boba Fett.
Yeah, and I mean, look, Lando even brings that up in the beginning of this issue. It's just like, we're putting a lot of money on a weird gamble. And Lando knows a weird gamble or two.
But you know what I like about this is they're like, we got to have everybody split up, right? And then this issue already is like, yeah, but we got to condense this and wrap this thing up. So let's get Luke and Lando on the same page.
Literally, right. So yeah, this page we're explaining, blah, 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 Empire Strikes Back. We all saw the movie, right?
Yeah. I mean, literally, Lando going like, well, look at it logically. We're here to help Han Solo, right? He's your friend. He's my friend. He's Han Solo. He's Captain of the Millennium Falcon. Kids,
He's a smuggler, but he's also a rebel.
Yeah. In his piracy days, he made some enemies. One of them being Jabba the Hutt.
Spelled correctly.
Yes, spelled correctly.
And then on the next page, we're like, and by the way, Boba Fett got his ass. Then there are some bounty hunters, but us two, Luke and Lando, the characters in this book, are tracking down Bosk and IG-88.
Yeah.
Those other bounty hunters.
And then I like that and this is so interesting, especially if you've read the most recent Star Wars run at Marvel, which is all about Lando having to prove himself to the rebellion after he betrayed Han. I love that in this he just goes, I can't help but feeling that I'm responsible for double crossing Han and getting him frozen in carbonite. And Luke's like, hey man, don't even think about it. Don't worry about it. You're cool. You're a hero now, Lando. We've all moved on. What?
Whereas, yeah, the Marvel Star Wars of today spent like 20 issues being like the trial of Lando Calrissian.
Because of course that made so much sense. It would take a lot. Like, that's what I love about, I mean, obviously the comic has done that, but it is like, yeah, he would have to go a long way to prove just getting them out of Cloud City wouldn't be enough to make the rebellion be like, this is our guy now.
Nope. Marvel Comics of the yesteryear is like, nope, he done good. He's fine.
Yeah. And yeah, it is Luke's like, don't worry about it. And then Lando's like, you're right, I won't. He basically is just like, I'm not too worried about it. I'm just saying it's what's fueling my need to save Han Solo.
If I am to be needing character motivation, this is what it is.
Yeah. So anyway, they have gone to the planet of Stenax. Is it Stenax? No, Stenos.
Yeah, Stenos, which is home to the Stenax.
Right. That's what it. Yeah. And I love this whole thing about like. Because was it he was after? Who was Lando after? I read this last night. Oh yeah, here you go. You and R2 were set in search of IG-88, and Chewie and I went after Bosk. And what's interesting is we both learned that they're on this planet.
What?
But Lando's like, I don't like it. It's too convenient. Something bad is gonna happen.
It's like the writers made the decision that they couldn't tell 2 more stories before the movie came out, and we got to condense some stuff.
Yeah, this is oddly convenient. Isn't that right, writers?
And or editors. I'm going to go ahead and blame Jim Shooter on this one.
Who, by the way, is credited as chief here.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, that's not. They're not thinking.
He didn't have a fun one this time.
Not really, no. So yeah, and Luke's like, "Hey, man, don't worry about it." Luke is the most carefree guy in the beginning of this issue.
Luke literally says, well, it makes a certain amount of sense if you're writing for Marvel Editorial, for Han's fate to somehow be tied up with what happens here on Stenos, and for Stenos to be the scene of some treachery. We were all here once before, right after Han and I joined the rebellion. And could you just see the, like, ripple edit that happens here, John?
Doodle-a-doot. Absolutely. And it does. We literally turn the page and we're in a flashback.
With a different artist.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but some of this is with a different artist, too. And he says, we were all here once before, right after Han and I joined the rebellion. So I guess we're to believe that, like, shortly after the events of New Hope, they're on Stenos. And you can tell because they're all still in their New Hope costumes.
Luke's dressed in his balmy desert garb. Leia's in that outfit she wore when she was freed from the Death Star. And Han in classic Han action figure attire.
The thing about the Leia outfit is particularly funny. It's like she's just in that outfit for so much of the first movie because she's captured with nothing to change into.
Isn't she literally in a different costume at the... I mean, everyone's in a different costume.
They're all, well, except for Han. Han is still in just the vest. But yeah, Luke should have his yellow jacket here, which rules. I love that jacket.
Good jacket.
And once again, the later Marvel comics making that his look, good choice.
Yeah.
But anyway. Yeah, this is before Han has been forced to get a full jacket instead of a vest because of the cold of Hoth.
Also, why would... Okay, we need to stop analyzing the logic of these comics, but like literally in the comics that Marvel has written about the time just after the whole like we blew up the Death Star thing was Han Solo taking his money and going, I gotta go. There's this guy Crimson Jack we gotta deal with.
I will say it really is like when was this exactly? Like they're so vague about it. It was just after we joined the rebellion. Yeah, but when?
And also, like, why would Leia be going off with Han Solo and Chewie at this point to go on this mission with Luke particularly? Other than the fact that they're all the main characters, why would they bring R2 and 3PO with them?
Yeah, they literally brought all of the main characters.
Yeah. Look, there are a total of 6 action figures that are in total the main characters, or protagonists, I should say, of Star Wars. Because obviously the 7th big action figure would be Darth Vader.
Of course.
But if you're going to go to a Macy's to pick up toys for your kids, because, that was a thing back in the 70s, and kind of is today, too, because Toys R Us is now inside Macy's, I just found out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I knew this. I go there. By the way, kids, I got to get that Spider-Man figure.
I didn't realize until I was shopping for shoes the other day.
Yeah. I still occasionally take a nostalgic visit to a mall.
Hey, look, malls are great when it's 95 degrees outside.
Oh, it's the best. But anyway, so and this, I do think that's a valid point though, Gregoni, only because they're now questioning the continuity of their own comic. We're no longer being unfair bringing continuity of movies in. It is like, wait a minute, within your own comic, where is this set?
Because, if we have a flashback to pre A New Hope, okay, could be whenever, doesn't matter.
Right.
The Clone Wars isn't a thing yet. Not really.
Right. I mean, what they think it is, I would have so many questions based on what they displayed the one time they did a Clone Wars story.
Right. But anyway, don't question it. We're here. We've got all of our friends.
And why are they here?
Because they're here because there is a rebel cell that's gone dark here.
That's what they say, right? And so they're like, very smartly, quick, send all of our top people, all at once.
What is the strategic value of this planet? No clue. We just know we had some guys here and they're not talking to us anymore.
So let's send one of our main generals, the only guy we have with force abilities, our best pilot and his co-pilot.
And the droids with literally all the tactical information that the rebellion possesses.
Are, as far as I can see, lone Wookiee, which is pretty good in a fight. Yeah, send him to... Let's make sure they all get wiped out at once.
So they're coming here to a planet full of gargoyles.
Yeah, so this is Stenos. And then I forgot, here's another thing where he's just like, Han's like, what are we doing here? And she's like, I already told you, Han, but here I go again. There was a rebel base here. They were supposed to, by the way, they were supposed to check in 5 days ago. All right, that's some amount of time, but once again, hardly seems necessary to send one of your best ships with all your top people. But anyway, here they are. They have to find out what's happened to them. And Han, I gotta say, based on the life he's lived, pretty rough for him to be like, what a dump.
Well, and that's one thing, but 3PO just being like, boy, these creatures are ugly.
Yucky, a bunch of uggos. A planet of uggos, Master Luke.
The protocol droid being the one to say, the Stanaxes seem like a most unpleasant creatures. I don't care for their looks at all. It's like, whoa, 3PO.
My stomach is churning just looking at them. Ooh.
I don't even have skin, but it's crawling.
And then you better keep your voice down, 3PO. You're just openly insulting these people out loud. Good God.
So, yeah, when I say it's a planet full of gargoyles, they're literally... So there's a character from Mary Jo Duffy's Defenders run called Gargoyle.
Yes. And he
that
looks
looks
a lot like
exactly like this.
Yeah. No, it is just like she and the artist whose name I'm already Carrie Gamble clearly just came over and were like, well, we were already doing.
Oh, I should check. Is she the one who did the that particular run of Defenders? I know Carrie Gamble did some Defender stuff as well.
I would love if it's just like, look, we were already doing this, so here you go. Look, we're just going to kind of keep doing what we were already drawing, so...
Uh-huh.
It's so bad.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, all right. Still, it is just like, this is not the first time we've seen them use, just like reuse Marvel designs.
Carrie Gamble did the Fallen Angels miniseries from the late 80s.
Oh, that's pretty iconic.
That was a weird little X-Men spin-off. If you haven't read it, highly recommend.
Oh, it's very good. Yeah. I also like the new Fallen Angels run that they did for the Krakoa stuff too. But Carrie Gamble, another one of those people. Kind of Carrie Gamble and Mary Jo Duffy both like really solid pros that don't get talked about, like a lot of some of the greats. But we're just doing solid work and kind of didn't get the maybe the attention they might have deserved. Oh, Carrie Gamble, I see, just did, and this is very on brand for the other show I do, Campbell Jones Meet the Monsters. I don't know if you know, there are these graphic novels.
My bad.
Yes, Carrie Gamble is a he. Carrie Gamble has been doing these graphic novels of adaptations. He did an adaptation of Dracula and Frankenstein, but he drew it as Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff. So faithful adaptations of the novels, but imagery using the Universal actors. Really, really cool. I highly recommend checking those out. They're very cool. Anyway,
we're still on Senos, and what's this? The Empire's here. Oh no!
Yeah, they really weren't. I gotta say that Han's like, I don't care for what I'm seeing. Heads up, guys! Stormtroopers. They might shoot near us. It's an easy joke, but it's there, of course.
I know. And then Leia straight up recognizes an Imperial governor who's also here.
I love this Imperial governor is just like watching the street, like, yes.
His name is Quarrel Martin, as in he's going to pick a quarrel with you. Yeah,
Quarrel Matron. Once again, they didn't. In this case, they just flipped. They took Martin and went. No,
sorry. Yeah.
No, but I swear that's what they just went like. Martin. No, spin it. Now it's a Star Wars name. Quarrel Matron. He's an Imperial governor. We served in the Senate together. What? Okay.
Well, they were like, the Senate only just stopped being a thing in Star Wars as of A New Hope, so
yeah, I gotta say
that's believable.
We've gotten much more of a clear look at that thanks to Andor, obviously, like what the Senate makeup of it and stuff was. And basically their plan is like, just ignore them and keep walking.
Yeah, though again, weird that there's an Imperial governor and or garrison here if this was like a rebel outpost, but yeah, whatever.
I mean, like this place is falling apart fast. If we lost contact with them 5 days ago, and immediately the Empire has taken it over, and I do like
the rebel outpost was keeping an eye on the Empire. I don't know,
but they're surprised the Empire is there.
That's true. Yeah,
and then of course just Han going like, "Nope, no sir, just ordinary tourists, no rebel leaders here."
He's flying casual.
Yeah. Oh dear. And then I do like just this image in the last panel of Governor Matron is just giving it to one of these gargoyles.
Yeah.
Just giving him the business, man.
Yeah. These gargoyles are, of course, like 8 foot tall, pebble-skinned, crimson creatures with huge bat-like wings, and all of them apparently carry swords and knives.
And yet, this just, scrawny little British dude is like, "Hey, pal, where are your papers?" And once again, the classic Marvel Comics green and yellow Imperial outfits.
Sure, yeah. So we cut to a temple high on a ridge, a rocky edifice.
Which we skip over the thing about. It's just a quick line of Han going like, "God, you had to pick the tallest pinnacle on the entire rock pile for us to climb." Ugh.
Yeah, we don't need a page of them climbing. We can cut to the top. That's fine.
I'm complaining again. Aren't you glad I'm back?
So apparently this was supposedly where the rebels were supposed to be hanging out, but there's no sign of them. And there's no sign of a fight. It just looks like an old abandoned temple.
But Luke is like, "But what a temple!"
I expected this to be like, oh, what if this is some ancient Jedi temple?
I was right there. I was absolutely waiting for that.
Nope.
No, Luke just likes old temples regardless of their connection to the Force. It's just, he can appreciate ancient architecture. Oh, man, this is one hell of a temple. Am I right, guys?
Yeah, and they're poking around, and Han's complaining, but then there's somebody from off-panel going, "Not so fast."
And who is this? Turn around to find Mirror Universe Han Solo.
Oh, man. If you thought that a certain character from Shadows of the Empire was too much of a was not enough of a Han Solo knockoff. If you thought Dash Rendar was like, okay, that's the Malto meal Han Solo, this is the, like, cereal in a clear plastic Ziploc bag with no label on it Han Solo.
Gorgoni, they just drew a goatee on Han Solo.
This is Rick Duel.
Rick Duel. By the way, Rick, R-I-K, although we'll see, they kind of fucked that up a couple times.
They go back and forth on that one.
Yeah. Rick Duel, literally, it is the starter. He has slightly lighter brown hair and a goatee, and he's wearing a different cut of vest. He's so... it is... They didn't even try.
And look, he's got some bumpy shoulder pads, and again, Dash Rendar would, of course, extend this look greatly in the 90s.
But here's compared to this guy, Dash Rendar is the most original character in Star Wars. And he's hanging out with not Greedo, I should say, and a sexy red lady from the original Star Trek series.
Look, she is definitely not an Orion, but colored red.
Yeah. This trio is the ultimate, like, wow, you guys had nothing.
Okay, this is Danny Gamble, named after the artist of the... She doesn't get a last name in this book, but she is a character that will stick around for a little while. Honestly, her and Rick are kind of going to stick around for a little while. So
oh, no, I am not ready for this. I am not ready for this.
And both have since been made canon in more recent Star Wars comics.
Oh, God, not in anything I've read. Oh, Jesus.
Rick has only appeared in a couple of, like, short story, like, celebration releases.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Years.
Yeah.
But Danny is going to canon. This is the first appearance of a Star Wars species called the Zeltron, which will kind of not become a big deal, but like be a background thing specifically in comics for a long time after this.
It's a name I've seen, I think, but and as defined by this, they're just a real sexy people.
Yep, 100%. If you need a sexy person that looks vaguely alien, a la Orions from Star Trek.
No, really, it is the Star Trek, 1960s Star Trek equivalent of, we have no money, can we just paint a lady a color?
Yes, and yes.
Honestly, before he says who this guy is, I was like, oh God, it's gonna be Han Solo's brother.
I mean...
I really thought that was going to be... I thought he was going to be like, Rick Solo.
Rick Duel is the name of the character you find in the action figure box, where the top of the box says Space Battle, right?
Absolutely. Even Rick Duel sounds like their Han Solo knockoff. Yeah. It's oh my God.
We cannot emphasize how much of a Han Solo knockoff
If
Rick
you're not
Duel
watching on YouTube, pop over at least for this section of this just to see and he is running with the least intimidating crew. Man, yes. Yeah. And then not Greedo, of course, is the aforementioned Cheeto. And Cheeto.
But
Rick Duel. I also like Han going Rick Duel with Danny and Cheeto.
They're the two that get packaged with him. They're the 3-pack that nobody wants to get for Christmas.
I also like it like it's a 70s TV special featuring Rick Duel with Danny and Cheeto.
Okay, obviously here are our 3-packs of toys. We've got Luke, Leia, and Vader is our first 3-pack.
Yep, of course, the Skywalker family.
We have got Han, Chewie, and probably 3PO as our other 3-pack.
That's a good one, yeah.
R2 comes with the X-Wing toy that doesn't come with any other action figures.
He slots in. Yeah, that's with free R2 or what, you know.
Right. We've got Lando, an Ugnaught, and probably a Jawa is like the other 3-pack that you're I guess this one's fine.
You were hoping for a Lobot, but you're going to settle for that Jawa.
Yeah. And then this is the other 3-pack that like you always are going to have extras of on the shelf after Christmas is already done.
I was literally, and no offense if you're a fan of this character, but I was literally at a Target yesterday, and they had about 10 Hour Man action figures, and they were on the deepest of clearance. The deepest of Clarence.
Which version of Our Man?
It's the most recent one with the cloak, with the hood and then the hourglass logo.
Okay.
It's like the Jeff Johns JSA one.
Sure, okay. But it wasn't like specifically from like the Stargirl TV series.
No. It was comic book. And I just remember I just thought like, you're gonna have those forever, Target.
Because even I was like,
even I was like, no.
That guy who can get really strong for an hour?
I mean, it's kind of a cool idea, but it is just like, no, but next to, figures from the new Superman movie. And you're just like, I think kids are going to pass right over Our Man.
Speaking of passing right over, comic book Luke, as always, goes straight for violence and whips out that lightsaber.
He warps and then turns into, somehow gains a bunch of muscle mass. He just like gets roided up in this drawing. And you're gonna regret it. That's not really a Luke line to me. Oh
yeah,
motherfucker.
Anyway, they're about to have a misunderstanding-based fight when they actually use their words, and we establish that Rick Duel. I'm never gonna not say his full name. How
could you not? His name is Rick Duel. You thought Han Solo was kind of silly. Oh, wait till you meet Rick Duel.
They're pointing at each other and being like, "Well, what are you doing here? Well, what are you doing here?"
You tell me what you're doing here first.
Meanwhile, Danny is like, shit, that blonde kid's hot as hell.
Holy God. I mean, she is right away all about Luke.
Because on the first page, she is like, long time no see. All right, sexy red lady. Next page, she's like, a cute kid with a lightsaber.
Yeah. Forget it.
But they basically determine here that Rick Duel and crew were working with the rebels that were here, or at least that's what Rick tells them.
Yeah, they just take it. I like that Han is like, this guy is a noted scumbag who I famously hate. And then he's like, I'm a rebel. And they're like, okay.
To be fair, Rick Duel is like, Han Solo, noted scumbag that I hate. And then Han Solo goes, I'm working for the rebellion because they pay well.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I mean, that's true. This also becomes a lazy thing in these Star Wars comics that like Han just I mean, and it makes sense, but like the idea that Han just continues to know different scumbags that can show up.
I mean, that's an easy story for Han Solo to be like, oh yeah, this scumbag, he and I did a job back in the day.
It's not inherently bad, but it is lazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's less lazy than like Luke knowing random people from Tatooine or Leia knowing random people from the Imperial political scene.
Sure. I mean, which we also already had in this.
Yeah. But anyway,
together, that governor
Rick Duel is like, look, we were kind of stuck here. We were waiting around for those rebels. They cleared out, but we needed to come back for something. And the only way we can figure out where that something is with your protocol droid.
Yeah. Great.
Because they're here digging around for an ancient artifact that used to be in this ruin. And the only way they can figure out where it was supposed to be is with 3PO translating the pictograms inside the ruin.
Yeah. They specifically say hieroglyphics, which kind of threw me for a loop.
Yeah, I mean, hieroglyphics is just basically like picture words that mean a thing.
It's just anytime you hear like just anything that's like that, where it's just like, I've never heard that in Star Wars. It's not wrong, but it's just like, ooh, that's weird to hear.
We find out that the ship that they're supposedly on is called the Moon Shadow. We never actually see that ship.
I'd like to take another look at the Moon Shadow. As I recall, she's a craft with really nice lines.
Then Rick Duel's like, speaking of nice lines, hey there, Princess Leia.
God damn, that's another thing I could do without the constant hitting on Princess Leia by every person they meet.
The only way I find it acceptable in this particular book is because we immediately have Danny coming up to Luke being like, hey, I'm Danny. What do your friends call you?
Yeah, at least turnabout's fair play, right? Like they're, it's equal, but yeah.
Yeah.
Nice name. I like a man named Luke. Young blonde man named Luke. And Luke's like, I need help.
I need an adult.
I mean, I will say, especially because it's like New Hope, Luke, it does kind of feel like a little predatory, right? He's such an innocent.
We never really had like someone coming on to Luke.
No.
And I kind of like it of Luke being like, okay, he is this space warrior, lightsaber wielding guy who blew up the Death Star badass, but then is completely disarmed by a hot, slightly older woman being like, sup there, big boy.
It never happened. I mean, I will say it is how I would imagine he would react. It's just like, because at a certain point, Luke becomes just asexual, right? I mean, and I know someone right now is about to write Mara Jade in all capital letters in the comments. I get it.
Even the Mara Jade romance is written more as like two people that have been like inordinately fucked up by the events of Darth Vader and Palpatine, and like them kind of trauma bonding over that.
It's still not. It still doesn't have the heat of a Han and Leia relationship, right?
Right.
It's a different thing.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with leaving that in our collective past.
Yeah. Anyway, Luke and Han are going to go off and go back to the Falcon to make sure everything's okay and get some supplies from town. They're going to leave Chewie behind because Han trusts Chewie to rip off that clown's arms if he tries anything funny.
I do like that Han line, yeah. I love this idea that because of that one line in A New Hope, that becomes Chewie's signature thing, is tearing arms off, right?
I mean, it is one of the funnest things to do in Lego Star Wars games.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just like the snowballing of that, right? Like, yeah. There's that one line. It's just like, well, I guess that's what Chewie does to people, then.
Yeah. So they manage to bring the Falcon back, and then we cut to them later starting to dig stuff out. And this is where we learn more about the MacGuffin that we're looking for. We're looking for a statue that is of, and maybe is, the god of the Stenaxes, Vol.
Vol, god of the Stenaxes. And I do like that it takes this long, they're digging, before Leia is finally like, hey, wait, how does that help the rebels? Yeah, I don't understand, because she is just like, a statue? We're looking for a statue? And he's like, no, it's going to be great. If we find the statue, like, the Stenaxes are going to join the rebellion, is basically what he says.
Right, because we learn these gargoyle guys, they are super ashamed of the fact that they lost their god.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge embarrassment. Come on now.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Leia is saying, like, but what good will that do for the rebellion? And Rick Duel, who, spoiler alert, may not be up to much good, deflects by saying, hey, Danny, stop hitting on that kid and get back to work.
Yeah, I gotta say, not a huge shock that this guy ends up being crooked.
Rick Duel? Beloved character Rick Duel?
Turns out Han's 100% right about this guy. Yeah. Leave that kid alone. I don't know how old Danny is supposed to be. Just the whole thing about, like, hey, you're hitting on that kid. It's all just very creepy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, in A New Hope, Luke's supposed to be, what, 20?
20, yeah.
So, like, this is a kid maybe in the middle of college.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah.
Depending
and then Danny is an alien lady who is like a hard-bitten criminal that hangs around with scumbags like Rick Duel.
Yeah. And she wants to make a man out of Luke.
Well, look, someone's gotta.
Actually, according to the movies, I don't think they do. I like there are people who are real sore about that. Like, Luke died a virgin?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
He eventually becomes like a Buddhist monk. What do you want?
Yeah, I know. The people, I'm just like the idea about, like, your fandom is real invested in whether or not Luke gets laid? Okay, we're not watching for the same reasons, but all right, fine, yeah. Anyway,
John,
I like
my expanded universe. Luke boned down. All right.
Oh yeah, he did, baby. Oh yeah, he did. Anyway, I do like the. I'm not paying you to romance the kid. You've never paid me.
Rick Duel famously does not pay his employees.
You know, it's like a thing where it's like, when we find it, you're going to get a cut of it. All right, that you're working on.
Sure.
It's you've got a deferred contract.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well,
I've had a
look,
few of those. They've never paid out. Anyway,
speaking of things not paying out, here's 3PO discussing how he is translating some of the runes here, and then R2 can hook him up with a triangulation of sensors that lets us know where the statue used to be inside the temple.
Yeah. I just like how he's like, I've done it, Master Luke.
Yeah, he's very proud of himself. Anyway, they find a big pile of rubble.
Yeah, I mean, it's Indiana Jones. This is not, right? Like they're...
But the pile of rubble they find this time is so big that we need some shovels to move it.
And also, God, the creepiness knows no bounds with all these people where Rick Duel is like, I'll stay here and keep an eye on Leia.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now Cheeto and Han have to go back into town to go get some shovels.
I love that we've just decided his name is Cheeto.
I'm not. Why not?
Well, I mean, look,
he's
if they're
slightly
going to
crinkly and disposable, might as well be Cheeto.
He gets orange dust all over your hands if you touch him too. He's just a mess. Cheeto, you're a mess. Anyway, yeah, they go there buy some just some shovels from a gargoyle guy. I mean,
yeah.
Really, this is the idea of a planet just full of monsters is great.
I'm fine with like aliens looking like whatever. The thing that gets me in this whole issue is none of these Stenaxes talk ever.
No. And also they like realize late in the game that they're actually like super powerful, right?
Well, because we find out here that like, okay, Han's the one who finally cracks the code on why the hell are we doing any of this?
Yeah.
And Cheeto is just like, well, we were told by that rebel guy who, yeah, you were looking for him. Remember that? That's the whole point we're here. Anyway, we were told that if we find this statue, the Stenaxes will really like it because they assume that since they lost their god, they're cursed, so they can't fly anymore.
Right. I do like the thing too. It's like, and then they'll join the rebellion. And I do like Han going, yeah, but how, they can't help us. They don't fly ships. Like, yeah, that'd be great. They could kill the Imperials on this planet. Then what? Like,
and Cheeto is just like, well, Colonel Kindar valued them, and I never questioned the judgment of my betters. But I will say, I'd hate to have a Stenax as an enemy.
And then the over the shoulder shot of the Stenax being like, "You damn right,
you're goddamn right."
Yeah, of course, because we're big horn spiky guys with wings.
Anyway. They bump into the governor, Matron.
Yeah.
And Han is like, oh, sorry about that.
I do like that
happens.
They do a fake out where he's like, hey, you there. It's like, oh, me, sir? And it's just like, pick up this shovel. He's like, oh, yeah, of course. I'm definitely not wanted fugitive Han Solo.
Yeah, anyway, they get back and they start digging around and Luke finds the statue.
It continues to be dumb. All of this is just like, were you reading this? Like, I was just going like, what does this have to do with any? I mean, we're recording these two at a time, so I have read the next issue and do know what this is setting up. But even still, I'm going, what are we doing here?
All I really came into this issue knowing was that, like, okay, it's going to be a flashback issue. Right. We're still treading water until Return of the Jedi. This is just supposed to be a like weird little side off story, and I've really landed on the fact that I just have to consider these stories like one shot Buck Rogers adventures, and if I go into it with that mindset, I can just accept whatever silliness comes.
We cannot fit these into Star Wars canon, even in like an expanded universe Legends way. They are so silly and off model.
Yeah, and silly and off model, they gave us Rick Duel, John, the silliest and most off model.
No, I mean, here's the thing, actually, I will say about that is, because of that, I do kind of want them to be as silly as can be then, and Rick Duel is pretty damn silly.
Yeah,
and
so, as soon as the name Rick Duel... Yeah. Anyway, they find the statue, they're like, hooray, they did it, the statue, and then, guess what? Rick Duel pulls a gun.
Immediately. Doesn't even do like a can I see that for a second, or no, just is like, all right, give me that or I'm gonna fucking kill you. And then Danny pulls a gun and is like, look, you're hot, but I will absolutely murder you.
Yeah, though she does the femme fatale thing of like leaning in and being like, hey, look me up sometime if you make it off the planet alive.
Look, man, I know I threatened to murder you, but that doesn't mean we can't get down later.
Look, post I almost killed you sex is maybe the third or fourth best kind of sex.
I'm not going to pry into that too much, Gorgoni, and we'll leave it there as to why you know that. Oh, yeah.
If any James Bond movie has taught me anything, John.
That's true. That's true.
Who are you to deny me that?
That's true, actually, yeah. Anyway, and then I do like that she says that, and then Rick Dool has to be like, yeah, but don't count on that. That's not going to happen.
Well, because immediately we have Cheeto showing up being like, hey, stormtroopers, these are those dangerous terrorists.
This is the particularly shitty move, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like, okay, stealing the statue because they just want to sell it.
Because our rebels don't really give a shit about the statue. In fact, they lied to them about why it would even be important, really.
Right.
And so the idea then is just, and we're going to turn you into the fucking evil empire that you're fighting a rebellion against is particularly bad.
Yeah, and I guess...
Han being like, nobody does this to me, you son of a bitch. People do this. The
idea, I guess, maybe would be that, like, turning them into the empire gets you some kind of reward?
Or at least gives them a head start, right? If we're going to escape, kind of what I took it as.
Yeah,
if they're tied up with the Empire. Whatever. It's not so much that they care whatever the Empire does to them. It's just like, well, they deal with that, whether they get away or not. We're out of here.
Right. But, you know what's convenient? The Millennium Falcon is already inside this temple. It's not like they have to run very far.
Which doesn't make sense. Because they made a point of the fact that they had to hike up here.
Yeah, but then they went back for the Falcon and flew it back here. We saw that in an earlier page.
Oh, yeah. And why did they do that?
Anyway, next page. Luke is diving for the exit ramp. Han has to dive to also save him.
Yeah.
And then what's this? The sound of something like a great wind. And look up as the gargoyles descend from the sky. I mean, the Stenaxes.
The Stenaxes, here they come! Ah! I mean, I will say, when we turn the page and you get this full page, panel, kind of cool to see big gargoyle creatures grabbing stormtroopers.
And they've got spears and they're landing on them. And these things are like from Fantasia, Chernabog descending from the sky. Yeah.
I love the thing, too, that Leia's like, they're flying. And Han's like, I guess they know the taboo's been lifted. Cheeto must have talked to someone while he was busy selling us out. So
sure,
they weren't flying because of the curse, and now that that's gone, they feel they can fly again?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. They lost their god, and they're like, well, until we find our god again, we're not allowed to fly. And then they heard, hey, somebody found your god. And they're like, hooray, to the skies.
Like, I understand the math of that, but it's so dumb.
It's a cultural thing, John. You wouldn't understand.
Oh, I love the idea that you're making me seem like the out of touch. You wouldn't understand the Stenax culture. Man, you're so ignorant of Stenax. Ugh,
you're being really ethnocentric right now, John.
You don't know what it is to be a winged gargoyle creature who lost their god. Okay, it's a big deal. Yeah, like I said, I understand all this, but I'm more reading this and going like, okay, sure.
Yeah, exactly. So then our heroes join the fray. They drive off the stormtroopers, and Han Solo goes up to shake the hands of one of the Stenaxes, and he's like, hey, nice going there, pal. I don't know why you did it, but thanks for the timely rescue.
I do love Han Solo trying to shake the hand of a big gargoyle creature. And then they've just been like, I don't like you either.
Well, then the gargoyle creature, again, these things don't talk. It just goes and hisses at him.
Which is really unusual for Star Wars, right? Because, like, even though there are monstrous, weird-looking creatures, all of them are... Most Star Wars characters, unless you're just full-on, like, monsters of a planet, creatures like this, usually, even if you can't understand it, have words, are able to express themselves in some way.
Chewbacca is the one that rides around with them.
Yeah, and yet these things, though, are just like, ah! And they're just like, I can't understand this thing. Yet they've built... But wait, they built a culture. They purchased things from some of them earlier.
Yeah.
They really play fast and loose with how intelligent these things are.
Anyway, it sounds like they want Vol, and Han's like, hey, if you want Vol, I can tell you where to find some Vol.
You want to talk to an asshole named Rick Duel, that's your problem.
Meanwhile, Rick Duel...
absolutely give you his coordinates. Fuck that guy. Yeah.
Rick and friends are climbing up towards their ship. They've got the statue in hand, and they're like, ha ha ha, well, what if we sold this to even higher bidder?
I guess you do see the moon shadow here in the background.
Is it the moon shadow, or is this an Imperial craft? We don't actually know.
I don't know, actually, now that I'm looking at it, yeah. But here comes Governor Matron, or Matron, whatever you say his name.
It's like, hey, I'm glad I had you guys followed, because then I get to overhear you saying how I'm a dum-dum. Who's the dum-dum now, dum-dum?
Amazing dialogue.
That might be a slightly abbreviated version of what is said.
I'm glad I've been having you watched. Among other things, it gave me the opportunity to overhear your interesting remarks just now. I especially liked your observation about dumb allies. And this guy
Matron, nice to see you. Come and meet us. Here's the Vol, just like I promised. Now, so our payment was...
Yeah, he tries to pull the Han Solo thing, but he just not as smooth.
Rick Duel, not as smooth as Han Solo? John, you're giving him not enough credit.
I just like the idea of Rick Duel is like, he's an even bigger dirtbag than Han Solo. and then...
yeah, Matron saying what we're all thinking. I'm surprised you weren't murdered years ago.
But time enough for that now. Take it like a man to give... What's this, gargoyles in the sky?
And a hissing cloud of Stanaxes descend on them and murder everyone.
As the Millennium Falcon flies away and Rick Duel goes, Solo! And then continues to scream from the surface of the planet as the Falcon takes off into space.
That's just how impotent his rage is. You can hear it in space.
I know you're to blame for this somehow, Solo. And someday, somewhere, I'm gonna get you for it!
Anyway, cut back to Luke remembering all of this. Remember, this is a framing device.
Yeah, I kind of did forget it. And Luke's just like, anyway, we don't know what happened after that.
But here we are, back on Stenos.
Yeah. Surely those people are all dead, though, right? Right.
Lando being like, do you really think the Stanaxes are grateful to you for your part in recovery of their god? Grateful enough to help us find our men? For Han's sake? And Luke just smiles.
Maybe we'd better park the ship out of the side of the city. I mean, I will say, it is sort of like, based on what they saw, why would they not assume that there is just bloody chaos happening on this planet now?
I mean, especially if the Stanaxes, were in open revolt to the Empire. It seems like the Empire doesn't really take that sort of thing kindly.
Yeah, I mean, either there's a bunch of gargoyle creatures who are no friend to the rebels, or they've all been laid waste to by the Empire. Either way, it is so weird that IG-88 and Bosk have ended up on this planet.
Because they're why would they have come here? Well, we'll find out, because next issue we're promised a return to Stenos.
Yeah. All of this whole issue was just a prologue to next week's issue, or next month's issue, as the case.
And you know how deeply next month's issue will tie into the events of this issue. There will be one-for-one continuity, important characters like, Rick Duel.
Yeah, hot take, spoilers, he might be coming back.
Look, we can't have a Han Solo next issue because it takes place in the present. So we'll get the next best thing.
Well, the fourth or fifth next best thing. But
okay, in terms of our Han Solo hierarchies, it goes Han Solo, Lando, right? Is let's be honest, kind of a knockoff of Han Solo, but smoother and cooler.
But has enough going on to make him his own thing.
Sure. Then we got our Dash Rendars.
Yeah, that's where you get into just straight up, you know. I mean, I think it really is. The hierarchy is based on how many original things they have, which gets us to Rick Duo, where it is just like goatee. Dash Rendar has a couple more things going on. Lando's got a lot more going on, and then Rick Duel's at the bottom. So he's like your fourth best Han Solo. And Rick Duel would say, "I'll take it."
Where does Jaxxon fit into that hierarchy?
Oh, Jaxxon? Well, Jaxxon's got his own thing. I still put him over a Rick Duel because Rabbit Man.
Okay. Is he above or below our Dash Rendars?
I've got more affection for him than a Dash Rendar person.
Wow. Okay. So
he's below a Lando, but ahead of a Dash Rendar, I think.
All right. So in our Han Solo power rankings, Jaxxon rates above a Dash Rendar.
This is the kind of content people subscribe for, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And if you want even more of that fun, you can head over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/punchup. That's punchup ENT. Get cool exclusive bonus content from all the shows on the Punch Up Entertainment Network.
Indeed. You can also find us, if you're not already there, on our YouTube page, youtube.com/@punchupentertainment. While you're there, watch along with us. You can see just how much of a Han Solo knockoff Rick Duel is over on our YouTube page.
If it wasn't the same franchise, it would be legally actionable.
No. He comes in those sticker packs that are just like slightly off center of Star Wars, but are just close enough that parents get confused and put them in a stocking on Christmas.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff my grandfather bought for me, where they're like, yeah, that's the thing you like, right? Yeah, Grandpa, I love space battles.
But while you're there, please like, comment, subscribe. Love seeing all the comments from people letting us know about some of the stuff we missed, some of the stuff that we didn't necessarily know about, like, I don't know, VHS releases of Star Wars and the timing thereof. But really helps us out, really helps spread the word about this show and everything we do at Punch Up Entertainment. So thank you so much over there. But I think that is going to do it for this time on our show. So, as always, I have been Mike Ergoni.
I'm John Campbell.
And as always, remember, may the panel be with you.